Musk's StarLink faces four major challenges. StarLink, SpaceX's satellite internet services division, has made rapid progress in deploying satellites, increasing users, and generating revenue, but it is still far from the goals set by SpaceX CEO Elon Musk. At the same time, the development of SpaceX faces four challenges: low market demand, short satellite lifespan, unsustainable funding, and constantly strong competitors. SpaceX is famous for launching rockets, and the company plans to one day send humans to Mars. To achieve this plan, SpaceX needs to invest a large amount of funds to develop technology that can achieve interstellar flight missions, and the global expenditure on high-speed internet is much greater than that on rocket launches. Therefore, StarLink, which provides satellite internet services, is seen by SpaceX as a cash cow and key to the plan to send humans to Mars. 1. The cruel reality of the technology circle: $1.4 billion in reality and $12 billion in ideal. Musk once said that StarLink is the foundation for SpaceX's valuation to reach approximately $150 billion, and it may also support SpaceX to become a listed company in the future. With the strong promotion of SpaceX, StarLink has made rapid progress in deploying satellites, increasing users, and generating revenue. StarLink first deployed satellites in 2019, relying on SpaceX to allow StarLink to reuse its rocket fleet, which also allowed it to launch satellites faster and more frequently than its competitors. Nowadays, SpaceX has approximately 4,700 functioning Starlink satellites in orbit. This not only exceeded SpaceX's expectations, but also shook SpaceX's competitors in satellite broadband, prompting many competitors to strive to save on other expenses and retain more funds for developing and deploying better satellite technology to keep up with Starlink. As of the end of last year, Starlink had over 1 million active users. And Starlink's revenue in 2022 was $1.4 billion, much higher than the previous year's $222 million. However, SpaceX CEO Musk is known for setting aggressive goals. According to a presentation reviewed by the Wall Street Journal in 2015, SpaceX expects Starlink to generate nearly $12 billion in revenue and $7 billion in operating profit in 2022, and expects Starlink to have 20 million users by the end of 2022. It can be seen that the development speed of Starlink lags far behind Musk's expectations, and there is still a long way to go to achieve the predetermined goals. 2. 4 major challenges Starlink must face to achieve its $12 billion goal. Although Starlink is currently developing rapidly and generating significant profits, it faces four challenges in its past and future development. Firstly, the market demand for Starlink is small. Skeptics of satellite internet have raised this practical issue. The majority of the world's population that Starlink can serve, who can afford high-speed broadband, live in cities. But in these regions, internet services are ubiquitous, and generally speaking, the service fees of these internet services are cheaper than Starlink, and they do not require specialized equipment, making them more convenient to use than Starlink. In addition, most of the Earth's surface is covered by the ocean, and even though Starlink has made every effort to develop cruise operators, international shipping, offshore oil drilling platforms, and even airlines into customers, the demand is still very small. Secondly, Starlink satellites have a short lifespan. The design life of Starlink satellites is 5 years. After 5 years, Starlink satellites will detach from orbit and burn down, which means SpaceX must continuously manufacture and launch satellites, greatly increasing the cost of the company's satellite network services. The solution that SpaceX came up with was to use the Starship to improve the launch efficiency of the upgraded Starlink satellite. But in April of this year, SpaceX's first interstellar spacecraft exploded a few minutes after flying. It is currently unclear when SpaceX will attempt to launch the interstellar spacecraft again, but recently SpaceX has communicated with the U.S. Aviation Safety Regulatory Agency on the key steps for the second launch. Thirdly, the funding provided by SpaceX for the development of Starlink is not sustainable. In 2022, SpaceX's capital expenditure was $3.2 billion. The funds invested by SpaceX Capital are raised through the use of advance payments from customers to book future launch locations and the sale of additional stocks. If SpaceX still relies on its original sources of funding and does not have a faster and more profitable way to grow funds, Starlink's development may be unsustainable. Fourthly, Starlink faces pressure from competitors' development. Although SpaceX's competitors in satellite broadband lag behind Starlink, they have also been developing their own low-orbit satellite network plans. For example, Amazon expects to launch 2 prototype satellites soon to establish a global network. Canadian satellite operator Telesat recently stated that it has developed a funding plan to deploy a new fleet called Lightspeed. Under the multiple pressures of the company's huge goals and 4 major challenges, the development of StarLink has a long way to go. SpaceX set StarLink a target of $12 billion in revenue and 20 million users in 2022, 8 years ago. Starlink's revenue was $1.4 billion and user base exceeded 1 million in 2022, far below the planned target. At the same time, Starlink also faces 4 challenges: low demand in the satellite internet service market, short lifespan of Starlink satellites, unsustainable development funds, and continuous growth of competitors. Under the multiple pressures of the company's massive goals and 4 major challenges, Starlink's future development may not be too smooth.